My name is Jack Roldan, and I'll be talking to you today about education as a catalyst for resilience and unity. And so it's really critical to understand that a lot of people think that since October 7th, we've faced a new world. But in my opinion, in 1948, when the state of Israel was created, all the world did was hit the snooze button on anti Semitism, which is very prevalent today. So, we'll be talking about why education can bring us together, the importance of early Jewish childhood education, and the importance of sending our teenagers, our children to Israel for an extended period to understand the why within Israel. When we think about the impact of the Israel Hamas war that we're currently under facing, a lot of things have changed since October 7th. Immediately after that traumatizing event, over 900 students immediately sought enrollment in Jewish day schools. By the end of December, that number was up to 1,000 people. Why? Because people were looking for a safe environment, an environment that would be able to provide them with the community and the cultural relevance that they understand. And these shifts should be somewhat troubling because people do not feel safe. When we think about our public schools, 39%, 39%, there was a 39% increase in the number of inquiries from public school students. There was a 20% increase in interest from independent school students in attending a Jewish day school. That's a huge jump. That's a huge jump. Why? Why is this happening? Because people want cultural affirmation. People want that safety. And when we look at the anti Israel indoctrination in our US schools, the numbers are staggering and the numbers are very worrisome. Let's take Los Angeles, for example. The Los Angeles Unified School District, which has over 35,000 members, teach over 600,000 students a year. It is a core mission of the LA School District Union to incorporate anti-Israel curriculum, to put together resolutions that chastise Israel simply for being the Jewish state. When we think about New York, we have public schools that have removed Israel from the map. This is not reality. Israel is a sovereign state. And when we think about schools like PS 261 and the Educators for Palestine, they're shifting our curriculum. They're changing the narrative. They're creating false truths that we need to counter. And when you think about the numbers, Los Angeles alone, with 600,000 students being educated every year, think about how many students that is over 5 years, over 10 years. And that's from a single school district in California alone. It doesn't account for all of our states across the US. And this should be a troubling signal. So what is it that we can do? We can empower through education. We can create a foundational role, starting with early education. I have a number of friends, family members, whose children from ages 4, 6, 7, 10 enrolled in Jewish day schools, in Jewish programs that understand the reality of what's happening. Although it's troubling, and a 4-year-old comes home and says, "Mommy, I'm afraid that terrorists might break into my classroom," that should be shocking. But it's important for that child to know the truth. What is the reality on the ground? Why? because that's going to empower a future generation to really understand the truth about Israel and to be able to go out into the public sphere, which we know is hostile to our students, to our families, and to Israel as a whole, with the knowledge that they need, to empower them with the basic understanding of what is Israel. When we think about promoting Zionism and making this a positive word, the Alexander Muss High School in Israel program takes high school students for a semester abroad and really empowers them with not just the what with Israel, but also the why. I was just there in Israel in September. We were on campus at Muss, and we got to hear from a lot of different students. Why are you here? Why did you decide to come to Israel during a time of war? Let me tell you, not one, not two, not five, but every student who got up to speak, to tell us their story and why they were here, was in Israel because they lost their best friends, because they were Jewish. Their neighbor would no longer talk to them because they were Jewish. Story after story told us that an active war zone, okay, think about this for a second. An active war zone was a safer haven for these students than being right here in the United States of America. That is concerning. What we can do is make sure that we get our kids involved in early Jewish child education so that they understand the what. What is Israel? When we want them to understand the why, we should be enrolling every single high school student in a program like Muss, because we know that when somebody gets to spend considerable time in Israel, they come home with a very different perspective on life. They come home empowered to really understand, why am I Jewish? And why is it important for me to be able to defend my Zionism? We've seen the transformation in these kids year after year. And this isn't anecdotal. We have the data from years of surveys of students, parents, alumni. What was the impact spending that time in Israel for an extended period? It was a transformative experience for these students. And in order for us to empower them in the outside world with the reality that each of us faces, each of these Jewish students and children face, we need to give them that experience. And so it's important for us as a community to not think about left, right, conservative, reform, but to think about Israel, to think about that Zionist basis for why we're here, and give them that opportunity to spend that extended time in a country that's amazing, that teaches these kids the why, and also provides them an opportunity to see an amazing place and understand our history, to understand how did we get here today and how do we respond to this tomorrow. You know, a lot of people don't realize that connecting to your roots is a transformative experience itself. I was raised in a Christian household. Not until recently did I understand that I'm a Sephardic Jew. That's because of a DNA test. That's in my blood, and that's why I'm here. And so that resilience comes from education. It comes from being able to not just teach ourselves and each other, but to be able to teach our neighbors. The neighbor who no longer wants to be a friend of ours simply because we're Jewish. We can't live in a world that does not accept us, nor do we need to shelter ourselves and exclude ourselves from the rest of what is happening around, because that is not reality. And it's very important that we understand that education can really help us to bridge gaps. It'll bring our communities together. It will help to solve some of the indifferences and the misunderstandings that are out there about Jews, about Israel, and about Zionism. If you have a child and they're not enrolled in a program, in a Jewish day school or other early childhood education program, make it happen. Talk to your friends, talk to your family about the importance of this. For those kids in your communities that are thinking about Spain for study abroad, that are thinking about traveling somewhere else in the world, make sure that Israel is first, because the future is ours, and it's our responsibility to ensure that we take hold of what we can. And some people may feel powerless. What can we do when the numbers around us do not place an advantage in our favor? We've been around, the Jewish community has been around for a long, long time. It's going to be around for an even longer time. But we need to understand what it will take to empower our children through these educational programs that will then in turn help educate us and give us the power we need for that continuum, for us to succeed in the future and to bridge these gaps that do exist. We cannot have the LA Unified School District with 35,000 members teaching 600,000 people a year without some counter, without a balance. And that balance can come through us educating. So thank you very much for attending this program. I hope you will enroll your families, your communities, and tell them about these programs and the why, because Zionism is a positive and we need to share with the world that positivity. Thank you.